1. Backstory. Hotel is currently under COVID protocols. We are normally a 4-star luxury resort hotel in a downtown metropolis, but we are currently operating on a skeleton crew without many of our normal amenities and touchpoints. The restaurant and IRD are closed, and we have a makeshift grab-and-go selection of pre-made meal items, snacks, and drinks available at the front desk. The old manager office behind the desk now has coolers full of food and drink and a table with utensils and bags and such. I'm normally a supervisor, but right now I'm the front desk, concierge, phone operator, food handler, and fitness room and pool scheduler. Both have recently reopened but are by appointment only with deep cleanings between guests. Bellman and valet are not currently existent either. Self-park is your only option and bell carts are available for your use. Overnight, instead of a full staff, the only people on property are myself, a security guard, and an engineer, and that's it. Also, I had been furloughed last March along with 95% of the rest of the staff. Many were furloughed or laid off. I just got called back a couple of weeks ago for 2 nights per week. All of downtown is different. I haven't had any kind of trainings or refreshers, and I'm doing a bunch of jobs that aren't my job in a pretty unrecognizable work landscape. I'm pretty much doing the best I can with the tools I have available and trying not to catch COVID. All caught up? Great. Because the bulk of my guest interactions right now are really starting to make me hate people. I've got mostly third-party bookings for super cheap discount guests wanting the full 4-star non-COVID experience. Perplexed that we don't have most of our normal amenities open, seemingly unaware that there is a pandemic going on in the middle of their vacation. They want to know why most of the restaurants that used to exist a year ago are either boarded up and closed, or else different restaurants entirely, though most are just gone. I have drunk guys coming up to the desk that I need to constantly ask to either put their mask on or pull it up over their nose. But so far this weekend, I've had the 2 most petty and awful interactions with people that I've had in a long time. The first is a couple who were real-life carbon copies of Johnny and Moira from Schitt's Creek. Similar attitudes, both kind of intoxicated, and the lady even sounded like Moira with her weird, ever-shifting, undecipherable accent. They approached my desk with an open bottle of wine, and each were holding a half-filled glass tumbler of wine. "Excuse me, sir, but do you happen to have wine glasses? All we have are these..." Drunkenly jams her finger into her tumbler, into her wine. "And these are unacceptable for wine." Oh. "I apologize that the room glasses aren't up to your standard. Let me just go check to see if I have any wine glasses in the back." "Oh, it's fine. We'll just take some down from the bar over there." Now, the bar has been closed and unused for the past year, and there is basically nothing there. No wine glasses. All the alcohol is gone. It's just dust in the same glass tumblers they're holding. I'm so sorry, but all I have at the bar are the same glasses, and those haven't been touched in a year, as it's been closed due to the pandemic. I can't believe this service. Let me just go take a look in the back and see what I can find. Thank you. I head back into my makeshift grab-and-go area, and all I have are plastic cups, coffee cups, and exactly 2 champagne flutes. All of the kitchen is locked up, and I don't really have any way to access it, and I can't really leave the front desk to wander the hotel for things that are all probably locked up anyway. I grab the flutes and head back out. Apologies again about the delay. Will these work? I offer up the flutes. "Yes, these are perfect, thank you." As they walk away, the lady says, "Oh, those champagne flutes, well, I guess they're better than these glasses." She sloshes her wine as she stumbles away. My second interaction was tonight with a man I'll simply call the Screaming Cowboy. This is a big guy, a big, intimidating guy. He is at least 6'5", wearing a red bandana around his neck and a giant brown cowboy hat on his head. But it's like a comical oversized 10-gallon hat, something you absolutely don't see in the city every day. And his face is bruised and bleeding. Of course, he isn't wearing a mask, so he's just spewing all his germs wherever. Fortunately, we have these giant plexiglass shields on the desk right now, and I've got my mask on, and a stanchion in front of the desk keeps guests at a distance. Screaming Cowboy approaches the desk. He is swaggering and scowling and visibly intoxicated. "Where's my hotel?" "Hello, can I help you? Can I have you put your mask on? I have some if you need one."
"Fuck that and fuck you. Where's my damn room? I'm tired and I've already been in a fight today, if you can't tell."
He slams a key packet on the desk with a room number that doesn't exist at this hotel. It's the same key packet in our brand, but this isn't his hotel. It's a room 423, and we don't have a room 423. For starters, all of our room numbers have 4 digits anyway. I would like to help you, sir, but I need to ask that you not swear at me.
"Just give me my fucking room."
"Well, I don't have that room number. Maybe I could try your last name. Thinking maybe on the off chance someone might have forgotten a digit."
"I don't fucking see how that's relevant."
"Do you know what hotel you're staying at?"
"I don't know. Why don't you just type it in your fucking system and tell me, you fucking asshole."
He then slammed his key and held it down on the desk again, like that would somehow magically tell me what hotel he was staying at, or what his name was, or anything. Like my system is a magically interconnected network of all the hotels in my brand that would tell me all of this info just by his room number. But at this point I was done with his aggressive behavior and verbal abuse. Okay, I'm not doing this. I grabbed the radio to call security to deal with him because he's not my guest, he's not staying in my hotel, he's hostile and uncooperative, and he's scaring other guests in the lobby.
"Yeah, go ahead and call security and the police, whoever you look for. I'll fuck you and the fuck is my hotel."
Security was, fortunately, nearby and was able to respond in a few seconds, and escorted the screaming cowboy out of my lobby. He came back to my hotel twice, but didn't come inside, thankfully, and we figured out he was staying at one of our sister hotels in the area. I called and let them know about our interaction and that he was headed back toward their direction at some point, but that he was incredibly hostile. Honestly, these are the parts of the job that are just draining, and I haven't missed at all. But on top of COVID, and being an immunocompromised frontline worker, still not eligible for the vaccine in my state, with the stress of doing like 8 people's jobs so that discount vacation third-party bookers and locals can have a night out, really sours my mood. So, there are my front desk stories of this weekend. I'm glad I'm only working 2 nights a week right now, and I honestly can't wait until everyone is vaccinated and things open back up again safely, so I can go back to my normal duties with my normal staffing and amenities, and actually run a hotel properly. Anyway, thanks for letting me rant. I hope you enjoyed something that I had to endure. It makes it a little bit worth it for the story. 2. I'm usually very understanding and could really care less when guests sneak in a person or two, as long as guests don't go overboard. Over the weekend I had a guest who had booked 2 rooms. The guest came in with an attitude and a total of 5 people. Our rooms have a capacity of 4, but I let it slide since it was an adult and 4 children. She checks into both rooms and leaves. I didn't see them come back before the night audit came, so I really didn't think any of it. The next day, my coworker, who just came in for his last ever shift, notified me that one of the rooms requested extra towels. When housekeeping had brought them up, they noticed that there were about 8 people in the room. My coworker didn't really do much about it. To be frank, he really didn't do any work that day. But I can't blame him, it was his last day after all. After my coworker left, I called up to the room and told them that they would have to bring down the number of guests to 4. The person on the other line apologized and claimed he would get working on that. So I call up the room again and once again inform them that they can no longer have more than the capacity in the room. This time a woman responded and told me they were about ready to go. To add to my luck, I then got swamped with check-ins, so I had to stop focusing on the overcrowded room for about an hour and focus on all my other check-ins. In that hour, no one came down. It was time to tell them that I was going to have to make them leave. I called up to the room. They didn't let me speak. They simply responded with, "We're coming, damn!" then hung up. In less than a minute, people started to pour out of the elevators. They screamed down the hallway, "See, I told you we were leaving. We ain't coming back." That's awesome. Thank you. All throughout my shift, no one came back, and I had an easygoing day. Time for bed, and now to get ready for my morning shift and their checkout. Next day. I come into my shift and asked Night Audit if any people had went up to the room. He said no, he had a quiet night, but the room made a prepaid reservation for another night. Great. Morning was going smoothly, all my checkouts were easygoing, had a couple check-ins. Nothing out of the ordinary. Then the lady from the overcrowded room came down and wanted me to redo her keys and check her into her new reservation. Before I checked her in, I told her that we did have an issue with about 15 people going up to the room. I could check her in, but if I see that people are going up to the room like they were yesterday, I will have them removed from the building without any refunds. She assured me it was only her and her 4 kids, so I checked her in. A couple hours passed, and once again people started going up. They weren't being discreet about it either. I managed to stop a few from going up, but upon further inspection, they were just going through the stairs. At this point I was over it. I called them and told the lady who checked in that I had warned them once too many times if people are not gone in the next 20 minutes, I'm calling the police. Of course that angered them, and they told me that I couldn't do that because they already paid for another night and have a right to bring guests in. Then they brought the threatening. "I'm going to sue the hell out of this place. I'm going to own this bitch." Okay, ma'am, you go do that. At this point, I texted my GM and told her about the situation and my solution. She was behind me 100%. 30 minutes passed, and without another call upstairs, I called the police. It took the police an hour and a half to get to the hotel. In that time, more people went upstairs and no one came down. I got several guest complaints that people were arguing in the room and the hallways were trashed and littered with ice cubes. The police told me that they couldn't force them to leave, which, by the way, is the first time me or my GM have heard about this. They went up and came down with a person whose credit card was on file. She was in tears. She told the police that the people upstairs were leaving and that it was just going to be her and her kids. She didn't have money to go anywhere else and that she lived about a 4-hour drive from here. She decided that she would leave, but she wanted a refund. I explained to her and the police that unfortunately they've been told multiple times to lower the capacity in the room. Before checking them into the new reservation, I specifically told them that they would be removed from the premises without a refund if there were more than 5 people in the room. There's nothing else I can do. Then the guest's mother comes down and says to mention the hole in the wall. She shows me pictures and it looks as if someone had yanked out an electrical outlet plate and ripped the drywall surrounding it. Now, I'm not saying it was them, but we inspect our rooms before someone checks in, especially since the rooms have been remodeled in the past 3 months. I apologize to the guest once again, but unfortunately that doesn't change the fact that they needed to leave. Which after about 5 minutes they did. 15 to 20 people left. I don't even know how that many people can fit in our rooms. I'm pretty sure some of them had to be standing on the furniture to fit. They did contact the GM the next day to complain about my attitude and demand a refund, but my GM was not having it. The guest said that we will be speaking to her lawyers soon. I'm not sure what case they have, but whatever, I won't be there to see it, as I finally quit the hospitality industry. I will not ever look back. 3. I worked the evening shift the other day, 3 to 11, and when I got on, the morning clerk came in and told me that one of the rooms was having issues with heat, and she went to the room herself and told the guest that if the heat didn't improve within the hour, we could issue a refund. I said okay, and she updated me on everything else, and I went about my business. Come 9 p.m., in marches the guest and her mother. By guest, I mean the daughter, who was the only registered party, and she booked and paid for the room for her mother. The mother bangs on the window until she sees me approach. She has no mask, and I ignore that, because I can pretty much see how this is going to play out.
I was told I could get a refund.
At my property, our boiler and heating system are having issues, but water is hot enough for a shower, and the heating is comfortable enough, and I have to advise everyone checking in about those issues, and if they agree to proceed with check-in. I didn't check her in, but it's the same policy for all front desk agents. I'm sorry, who did you speak to about a full refund?
The girl before from earlier said I could get a full refund.
Okay, ma'am. I see no notes here in your folio. Please excuse me while I make a few calls and try to figure this out for you. I called the previous clerk and she confirms that she did go to the room and adjusted the thermostat, and told the mother that she could get a refund within the hour if the room didn't heat up. That was at 3 p.m., so I relayed this information to the guest. "Okay, ma'am, the previous clerk told you that if your room didn't heat up within the hour, we could issue a refund. However, as it is well past that hour and nearly 9 p.m., and you have been in the room throughout the day, I cannot issue a refund."
She did not tell me that. I need that refund now.
Times 3. "I'm sorry. Based on the info I've received, I cannot issue a full refund at this time. I will, however, let management know tomorrow and they can make a decision then."
What? We were told we could get a full refund.
I repeat myself, and they both act like this is news to them, when in fact they were advised earlier by our very competent morning clerk. They continue on about this, repeat a few more times. Then the mother pulls out like 10 pages with handwriting, some of which the text being like 70 plus point, and a bunch of exclamation points, and screams, not exaggerating, it was a full-on scream, that these are all her complaints.
Call your manager now. I need to speak to a manager about my complaints.
It's late and I will not do that. The manager will be in tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.
Call them now.
I paid for a room and you need to call the manager now so we can resolve this. I want a full refund that whoever told me I could get.
The mom backed off for a bit while the daughter spoke with me. I reiterated the situation and the mom butted back in, asking me what all this meant. I explained to her again that she spent 6+ hours in the room after being advised about the issues. And not only did she not come back to the desk within the hour, as she was told to do for a refund, but she remained in the room throughout the day, making it impossible to rent the room out that night.
That's not what I was told.
I had repeated myself so much at that point, I told them they have 2 options. Stay in the room and get no refund, or come back and speak to a manager, no refund. As expected, they demanded corporate's number, so I just gave them central reservations number because who cares?
So if we aren't staying in the room tonight because you refuse to refund me, I'll just give my room to a homeless person.
You can do that if you wish, but that isn't authorized by myself or the company, and if you do, you will not get a refund at all. They then storm out of the lobby, and there were a few people outside, and they immediately began offering them their room key, saying it's a free room, etc. I go out with them and tell them they can't do that and leave the property. They tried to claim I said I told them they could do that, and I said no, and repeated what I said earlier, and that if they did manage to get someone in their room, they'd be liable for all damages. Thankfully, they left after that, and I locked the room. My manager happens to be staying on property, so I called her and explained what happened, and she just laughed and said, "Refund. Yeah, right." 4. I am a GM of 2 hotels/motels. One is an independent and the other is a budget local craziness motel. I have been in hospitality for several years and this has been the hardest year ever. Both hotels at certain points were turned into quarantine centers, one for homeless, the other for college students. I have been as empathetic and flexible as possible with every one of my staff members. I have taken into account the drastic changes that everyone has had to make to their lives due to COVID. I have flexed our rules to be more accommodating to help everyone out. I have worked weeks straight without a break. I have covered multiple shifts, even night audit, on top of the desk shifts I was already working, making it near impossible to do all the reporting, financials, HR work, sales, etc. that GMs do. I have cleaned rooms, been attacked by fleas, I've done 1 million loads of laundry. I'm available to my staff 24/7, and I have tried my very best to lead by example. I'm a mom and wife in my spare time. My days are regularly 12 to 16 hours long. Just for fun, I should mention that sometime in August, I had a guest set off the sprinkler system flooding our 1st and 2nd floors, so I've been managing that and dealing with contractors and insurance claims as well. I've done this because I know that throwing some pizzas down every once in a while just doesn't cut it. I knew I had to put in the work to foster a positive work environment for everyone. I'm at my breaking point this week. One staff member started full-time, open availability. Then it was only Monday to Friday first shift. Then it was full-time night audit with a $1 hour increase. Then, without notice, availability changed to only Sunday and Monday only. Fine. Made it happen. Yearly review came up and she didn't get a raise because the entire company, even corporate who let several people go, is on a wage freeze. This was announced last spring. She quit this week because she was waiting to see what we could offer her. Based on her performance review, she would have gotten an increase of 35 cents per hour, and when the wage freeze is over, it would have been retropaid. She knew this as well. I still don't know what more I personally could have done. Another staff member, hired with open availability to work first and second, told me she was pregnant at the end of her first week. Fine, women can absolutely be pregnant and continue working, and I absolutely can make accommodations for that. She was then too tired to work second shift, so it became first shift only. Then she couldn't work until 3, only until 1, because that's what time her boyfriend could pick her up when he got off work. Then she couldn't work Fridays and Sundays because those were his days off. Fine. I accommodated that as well. This week she called off at 11:30 at night via text, against policy, for her morning shift. I asked my operations manager, her direct supervisor, to speak to her, since on top of the schedule changes, she's requested 75 hours off since January 1st. Left her shift early on 7 different occasions, and has called off twice in the last month. The OM, I think, was having a rough or busy day, and actually just took the email I sent her, completely meant to be internal yet still professional, printed it out, and had the staff members sign it. It was meant to be a discussion on schedule reliability and an action plan for further development, not a discipline. Well, the girl, she's only 19, wrote me a scathing email telling me that we should have talked to her first. Duh, that's what we were trying to do, and put in her notice. I politely and professionally replied. It just seems like no matter what I do, no matter how nice, accommodating, and flexible I am, nothing will ever be good enough, and it makes me feel like a complete failure. I just want to curl up into a ball and cry for like 3 weeks straight. On top of all the BS with the crazy drug-addicted guests, all the COVID accountability, all the stress from corporate to pick up sales, all the time covering shifts, I keep thinking of the phrase, employees don't leave jobs, they leave bad managers. I'm stretched so thin. I don't know how much longer I can do this. 5. I worked in the grossest hotel in my city in my early 20s. I stand by this. Don't listen while eating. The cheap hotel I worked at was in a high-crime area. We had no shortage of weirdos, wackos, and people very down on their luck. I've seen some shit. One day, a lady who appeared to be 90 in both age and weight, but was likely no older than 55, came in to rent a room. I checked her in and hoped I wouldn't regret it. You can usually spot the troublemakers. It was pretty clear her drug of choice was heroin, and I was amazed she was still alive given her appearance. She barely had any teeth left. She checked in for a few nights' stay, was pleasant enough, so I sent her on her way to her room and out of the lobby. We'll call her Anne. My manager at the time was very chill, and the only reason the place was capable of running at all because the owner was wildly delusional and unscrupulous. My manager also looked and dressed like a very sleek anime character, Alex. Alex would frequently hang with me on my shifts as we got along well. After a few nights of Anne staying in our decrepit little hotel, I realized I hadn't heard a peep about her. I hadn't seen her for any breakfasts or wandering in and out of the hotel at all, except on the morning of checkout. Alex and I were inside our tiny front desk fortress together, getting the morning's checkouts completed and shooting the breeze. The reception was a very tiny office, connected to the indoor lobby and outdoor waiting area with a gate separating the spaces. The reception also had a Dutch door that was constructed to be a small desk where the clients could sign papers for us. While I was sitting at the computer in the reception, Alex was standing eating a muffin and leaning on the Dutch door inside the office with me. That's when I smelled Anne appear. I sat at my desk, mouth agape, unable to speak, just staring out of the Dutch door at Anne while Alex stared at me. Alex, with mouthful of breakfast muffin, turned her head from me to lock eyes with Anne, not even a foot between them. Anne's mouth hung wide open in a huge toothless smile greeting us, face splattered in vomit. In one fluid motion, with Matrix-style movements, Alex shut the top of the Dutch door in Anne's vomit-covered face and simultaneously pulled out the trash from under the desk, and puked while also dropping the muffin in the bin. Once Alex was composed, I was uselessly stunned frozen in my chair. Alex told Anne to please clean herself up before coming back down to check out of the room. Anne complied, confused but amiably. I was dying of laughter while Alex and I pondered the state of Anne's room. The whole room had to be closed off as a biological hazard because Anne really didn't leave the room the entire time of her stay, and the room had no bathroom. I was too squeamish to look myself, but the maintenance crew said there was vomit sprayed 360 all over the walls, as if an exorcism happened like in a horror movie. Anne was blacklisted. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Coahw, number 57. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Let me do a little check there. Are there any shoutouts for this video? And nope. Okay. I have to say, though, regarding story number 4, while it is indeed true that, or at least there's some truth to the saying that employees don't leave bad jobs, they leave bad managers. I've certainly had both types of managers over the years. One was fascinating in that they started off good, and then I just watched them slowly unlearn how to do their job. It was fascinating, or at least it would have been fascinating had it not been affecting my life. But yes, on the flip side to that, there are also just bad employees for whom it doesn't matter how good a manager you are, they're gonna suck regardless. Indeed. Okay, I better wrap up there before I start revving up for a long grumble about sucky people I've worked with. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.